Listen closely. Something is editing your life in real time, and it's not hiding in the clouds or the stars, it's perched behind your eyes. Every glance, every inhale, every micro-decision is broadcasting coordinates to the quantum field, and the field is obedient. It's not moral, not sentimental. It simply organizes around the signal you emit. That means your timeline is not drifting, it's being steered, moment by moment, by the way you are looking at it. Picture this like a midnight laboratory, where you are both scientist and subject. Fluorescent light hums. The room is still. You raise your attention like a camera, and reality leans in, adjusting its posture to match your focus. You think you're observing circumstances, but the observer loop is already underway. Your attention writes, the field reads, coherence gathers, and synchronicities begin to conspire. If your gaze is fractured, chaos echoes back. If your gaze is steady, the room of your life stops fidgeting and listens. You didn't come here to be hypnotized by your history. You came to initiate a phase transition. Feel it, the subtle pressure in your chest, the rise and fall of breath mapping the edges of your inner weather. With every exhale, an older identity loosens its grip. With every inhale, a truer frequency threads into your nervous system, whispering to your cells about a different future. This is not fantasy, it's instruction. Your DNA is a choir waiting for a conductor. When you choose a signal, peace, readiness, resolve, the choir listens, harmonizes, and begins a quiet restructuring. Right now, the field around you is not empty space, it's listening space. It's responsive, pliable, alive with latent patterns that entangle with your choices. Notice how a single thought can tilt your entire day, how one brave breath can make the room brighter, how a tiny shift in posture changes the story your body tells. These are not small things, these are the levers. This is how new timelines are born without fanfare. A whisper becomes a wave. A single intention composes new choreography for matter to follow. So we begin with a simple ritual. Drop your shoulders. Unclench the mouth of your mind. Set your gaze gently on the next inhale as if it were a doorway. Feel the hum around you, the quantum field nesting against your skin like warm night air. Name the frequency you want to broadcast and let it saturate the breath. Calm is a frequency. Courage is a frequency. Devotion is a frequency. Choose with care. The field is a perfect mirror. Understand the stakes. If you do not aim your awareness, old patterns will. They will borrow your eyes, spend your breath, and cash in your attention on yesterday's script. But if you claim the instrument, your focus, your breath, your stance, you become the still axis around which reality reorganizes. Entanglement is already happening. Let it bind you to the version of yourself that remembers. Stay with me. In a heartbeat, we'll name the principle that makes this rearrangement possible and translate mystery into method so that what you feel right now becomes reproducible, on command. You asked for the principle. Here it is, simple, elegant, unsettling. What you observe does not merely reveal reality. It participates in choosing it. In the language of physics, measurement collapses a cloud of possibilities into one event. In the language of the soul, your awareness is a tuning fork that calls one world closer. This is the observer effect, and it is not a metaphor you politely nod at. It is the operating system beneath your every moment. Imagine a field of unchosen scene superposition. Before you look, the quantum world holds many maybes at once, overlapping like translucent veils. A particle is not here or there, but potentially both, neither, all, until attention or any act that extracts information forces a decision. Your gaze is not passive. It's an instrument. It resolves the blur into a single frame and tells matter, hold still, we're doing this. Now braid that with entanglement. Two particles once connected keep whispering to each other across space, answering simultaneously as if space were illusion and separation a rumor. Their states co-arise, coherent, immediate, indifferent to distance. This is not sentimental poetry. It is the universe confessing its intimacy. When you shift, the web you inhabit shifts, because nothing was ever truly separate. But let's translate mystery into texture you can feel. 3 parallels. First, consider a camera lens. When you twist the focus ring toward a chosen subject, the background surrenders into blur. The world hasn't vanished. It's simply obeying priority. Your attention functions the same way. Direct it toward peace, and the narrative of panic defocuses. Linger long enough, and the story's edges soften until new options walk into the frame you can finally see. Second, think of a crowded room. Laughter, silverware, overlapping conversations, 100 tiny realities jostling for prominence. The instant your eyes meet one person across the space, the room reorganizes. Sound filters, time slows, a corridor of significance opens between you. Nothing about the molecules changed. Your selection carved a path, and the moment bowed to it. Third, use your navigation app. You choose a destination. The map doesn't move the city. It reinterprets the grid around your intention, offering routes that didn't exist for you until you declared where you're going. Each turn you take collapses a branching tree of possibilities into a road under your wheels. That is measurement. That is decision. That is the observer loop running in broad daylight. You are already doing this. The difference now is precision. In superposition, your life holds multiple viable futures versions of your voice, your relationships, your health, your art coexisting as a mist of probabilities. The quantum field is that mist, a living archive of could be, waiting for the gravity of your coherence. The more coherent your state mind, breath, heart, and action entrained, the more decisively the mist condenses into form around your signal. Coherence matters because noise cannot make a clear request. Static generates static. When your thoughts sprint one way, breath stutters another, posture telegraphs doubt, and words declare forced optimism, the field receives cross-traffic. Incoherent inputs do not stop the universe from responding. They simply scatter the response. But when your inner instruments tune to one pitch, synchronicity is not a miracle, it's physics wearing a smile. Patterns that match your frequency begin to tessellate around you, like iron filings arranging themselves along invisible lines of magnetism. Entanglement reveals the reach of this. You're not a lone broadcaster yelling into the void. You are embedded in a morphic resonance, a syntax of pattern sharing across minds, bodies, and places. Change inside your temple and you will feel the tug on threads you cannot see. The friend calls out of nowhere. The chance article lands in your feed. A door you never knew existed opens because the version of you who can walk through it just became available. The web responds to the node, and you are the node. Do not confuse this with superstition. You are not blinking lights on and off with wishful thinking. You are refining the quality of the information you feed into an exquisitely sensitive universe. Observation is information. Breath is information. Posture, tone, choice information. The field digests all of it and returns a pattern that fits. You've witnessed this in reverse. Dwell in resentment and watch your timelines fill with thorns. Rest in genuine gratitude and watch ordinary hours acquire a soft golden edge. The field is not rewarding or punishing. It's matching. This is where awakening becomes practical. Instead of chasing outcomes like birds, you become the grove where birds want to land. DNA, restructuring, think of it as permission slips being signed at deeper levels of your biology when your state stabilizes. Cells listen to chemistry, and chemistry listens to consciousness. When the conductor raises the baton and the orchestra of your system hears one tempo, a phase transition ripples outward, subtle first, then obvious, then undeniable. Old patterns melt not because you argued with them, but because the music changed, and they cannot dance to this new song. Notice how this dethrones the myth of force. If the observer effect is the hinge, control is a clumsy door. You do not yank the hinges, you polish them. You become precise with where you place your eyes, how you fill your lungs, what story you allow in your mouth. You keep choosing the focus ring, the gaze across the room, the destination on the map. You let coherence accumulate like morning light in a quiet house until the whole architecture glows. And when uncertainty snarls because it will remember, superposition is your ally, not your enemy. Uncertainty means many good roads are still open. It means you have time to breathe the deciding breath. It means you can step back from the loudest timeline and feel for the one that hums with recognition, the one that already belongs to you. When in doubt, choose the signal, not the symptom. Choose the frequency you want to multiply, and let the entangled world handle the logistics. Hold this in your chest. Observation is choice disguised as seeing. Every time you look, you vote. Every time you breathe on purpose, You sign the ballot. The quantum field tallies without bias and organizes the furniture of your life accordingly. Keep your vote coherent. Keep your gaze brave. The rest will learn your name. Stay with the feel of it. The moment you place your awareness, the quantum field folds toward your preference. Now let's step closer inside the engine room, where thoughts spark, emotions surge, and your body translates both into signals the universe can read. You've felt the observer loop from the outside. Here you learn how the loop is forged within. Think of a thought as a waveform pattern, rhythm, direction. Alone, it's a faint melody drifting through a vast hall. Emotion is the amplifier. It turns a private tune into a broadcast. Attention is the mixing board that shapes tone, volume, and clarity. Posture and breath are the speakers that carry the sound through your fascia, hormones, heart rhythms, straight into the field. This is why you cannot merely think positive and expect the world to rearrange. If the melody is hopeful but the amplifier is fear, the room still fills with static. Coherence is when thought, feeling, breath, and body play the same song at the same tempo. That alignment produces a clean signature the field can match without confusion. Visualize your inner life as a cathedral of instruments. Your prefrontal cortex keeps time like a drummer, setting intention and focus. The limbic system is the string section rich with emotion, capable of thunder or tenderness. The brainstem holds the bass, steadying tempo through breath and heartbeat. Your heart's electromagnetic field is the organ's great pipes, filling the nave with overtone upon overtone. When you choose a frequency, say calm courage, and entrain these sections, the whole cathedral resonates. This resonance is not metaphorical indulgence, it is coherence. And coherence calls geometry out of mist. Synchronicity is that geometry showing up in your day like stained glass catching sunlight. Now, notice a subtler layer. Beliefs are like architectural blueprints stored in the walls. They tell the music which notes are allowed. If a belief whispers, "Safety lives only in shrinking," then even a strong intention to expand gets detuned halfway through its journey. The mind does not sabotage you out of malice. It fulfills instructions it assumes are necessary for survival. Your task isn't to fight these blueprints. It's to revise them with gentleness and repetition while you remain in the observer. You do this by pairing new thoughts with matching emotion, breath, and micro-actions until the structure accepts the update. Each update is a small phase transition, invisible at first, then suddenly, click new baseline. Consider 3 analogies to map the layers of influence. 1. The gardener and the soil. Thoughts are seeds, emotions are moisture and warmth, attention is light, action is the tending hand. Plant peppermint in bitter soil and you still get mint, but it's stunted, thin, apologetic. When you amend the soil, soothing your nervous system, breathing into coherence, the same seed expresses fully. The quantum field is the surrounding climate. It is generous but impartial. It magnifies whatever you cultivate consistently. 2. The software and the compiler. A thought is a line of code. Emotion compiles it. The body executes. If the compiler throws errors, shame, dread, resentment, the program limps or crashes. You don't fix a crash by yelling at the screen. You fix it by cleaning the code path, assigning emotion that matches the instruction, slowing the breath to reduce noise, relaxing muscles that scream contradiction. Then your instruction, "I move with trust," compiles into a posture, a tone of voice, a decision sequence that the field reads as a coherent packet. 3. The lighthouse in fog. Your mind turns, casting a beam over possibilities. Emotion is the luminosity of that beam. Fog is old memory rising from warm water stories, imprints, inherited echoes. If the light is dim, the horn must blare, and still ships scrape the rocks. Turn up the wattage gratitude, steady breath, chosen focus, and the fog becomes a theater for visibility. The shoreline reveals itself. Roots appear that were always there but unlit. Closer still, your body isn't a passive courier. It's an intelligent network that votes on which reality you will select. Micro-tensions in the jaw argue for restraint. A collapsed chest votes for hiding. A lifted sternum, softened belly, unhurried exhale vote for presence. Each vote is a small measurement, a collapse of a local superposition into an action you can feel. Over minutes, the tally becomes a day. Over days, the tally becomes identity. Identity is just the probability you keep selecting until even your cells assume it's home. This is where DNA restructuring enters not as sci-fi spectacle, but as a living biology that listens. Epigenetic markers are like sticky notes on the genome saying, play this, silence that, add volume here. Chronic stress plasters loud neon over genes that brace and defend. Sustained coherence replaces those notes with gentler instructions. Repair, grow, connect. You do not rewrite the alphabet. You change the poem it recites. When enough lines change, the stanza of your life reads differently, and your outer world obliges with new rhymes, people, places, opportunities that fit your updated verse. Notice the entanglement in your everyday rituals. You think of a friend with warmth, and they text within the hour. You begin a project with a clear, embodied yes, and coincidences cluster like birds aligning mid-flight. Morphic resonance suggests that once a pattern stabilizes in your system, it becomes easier for the pattern to appear elsewhere within your relationships, your team, your home. You become a template, not by evangelizing, but by emitting. Of course, there is the countercurrent, the mind's old economy. It hoards certainty, mistrusts quiet, worships the familiar even when the familiar aches. It will try to hijack your observer loop by demanding explanations before permission, guarantees before breath. You disarm this economy not with spreadsheets of proof but with experiments of presence. You take one conscious breath in the middle of an argument and watch the plot twist. You place your attention on the inch of space behind your sternum and feel a door swing where there was wall. You choose the next kind act without ceremony and notice how the hallway brightens 3 steps ahead. These micro moves teach your mind a new exchange rate. Coherence buys more reality than control ever did. Let's diagram your influence as layers, like concentric rings around a still point. Inner dialogue, the story you allow. Clean it. Speak as if the version of you you're becoming were already at the table. Emotion tone, the music beneath the words. Tune it with breath, longer exhales, slower tempo, honest naming. Somatic stance, the geometry of your body. Open what protects unnecessarily. Ground what floats. Lift what collapses. Behavioral rhythm, the cadence of choices. Repeat the signal, small daily acts that agree with your declared frequency. Field signature, the composite broadcast. Let synchronicity carry some of the weight it wants to. When these rings align, a threshold is crossed. That threshold is the phase transition, water to vapor, static to pattern, wishing to witnessing. You feel it as relief first, then momentum, then inevitability. The world begins speaking your language back to you. So here is your quiet assignment for the rest of today. Become suspicious of every thought that asks you to abandon your body to think harder. Invite the thought to stay, but require it to travel with breath. If it refuses, it cannot drive. This single rule preserves coherence when it matters most. And when you forget, as humans do, don't dramatize the lapse. Return. Returning is a power move. You are not trying to dominate reality. You are courting it. You are not forcing the quantum field. You are conversing with it. In this conversation, your mind proposes, your heart corroborates, your body notarizes, and the field records. Keep the paperwork clean. Keep the music honest. Keep breathing as if the universe were leaning in to hear your next line because it is. Before we advance the signal, name the traps that quietly dilute it. Small frictions that seem harmless but sheer coherence until the observer loop sputters. You've felt the momentum gather mind, breath, body aligning, then watched it leak. Not because the quantum field failed you, but because old survival code impersonated wisdom and you believed it. Let's hold a light to the disguises so they lose their power. The first trap is performative positivity, polishing thoughts, while the body trembles. You paste a bright affirmation over a nervous system still braced for impact, and the field reads the brace, not the sentence. Imagine telling the ocean, be calm, while your hands churn the water. The ripples answer your fingers, not your vocabulary. You say, I am safe, but your jaw is locked, breath in, shoulders cinched toward your ears. The quantum field is exquisitely honest. It takes the whole you as data. When message and mechanism disagree, the mechanism wins. Consequence, synchronicities arrive that mirror tension, missed calls, half opportunities, plans that almost work. The remedy isn't bigger words. It's slower exhale, softened belly, eyes that unfurl, coherence first, language second. The second trap is micromanaging the field, treating the universe like an employee who needs bullet-pointed orders by noon. You detail the color of the door, the exact date, the precise phrasing you must hear, then stalk the mailbox of reality for proof. Control masquerades as clarity, but the body knows the difference. Micromanagement collapses superposition into the narrow corridor of your fear. It strangles morphic resonance, which thrives on openness. The field loves specificity of frequency, not tyranny of outcome. When you overscript the how, you amputate the better routes that entanglement is already weaving. Consequence: time feels slow and abrasive. You collect almosts and call them lessons in patience. The remedy is devotional precision. Choose the state, set the direction, then release the choreography. Let synchronicity audition the pathways you can't imagine yet. The third trap is misreading turbulence, assuming noise means failure, when it often signals phase transition. You tidy your inner temple for 3 days, and the room of your life gets louder. An argument surfaces, a bill arrives, a memory wakes. You decide the practice isn't working, but turbulence is often the field resorting probabilities, shaking loose what cannot entangle with the frequency you're stabilizing. The old timeline rattles because it's being asked to deconstruct. Think of boiling water. Agitation is how vapor is born. Consequence: you abandon the process right before the lattice breaks. Then call the cycle proof that nothing changes. The remedy is staying one more breath in the pocket of discomfort, one more hour of gentle coherence, while the old scaffold collapses. Name it correctly. I'm in the corridor between worlds. The fourth trap is outsourcing authority to omens, turning signs into rulers instead of mirrors. A number sequence appears, a sentence in a book glows, a song lyric lands on the right syllable, and your body tingles. Beautiful synchronicity says, yes, keep the frequency. But the mind, hungry for guarantees, lets the sign dictate choices it should only support. You stop listening to your chest's quiet "not yet" because a feather fell at your feet. Consequence: you drift out of self-trust into superstition, mistaking external glitter for internal guidance. The remedy is simple. Treat signs as weather, not law. If the omen doesn't harmonize with coherent sensation, open ribs, warm gut, steady breath, it's aesthetic, not instruction. The fifth trap is spiritual bypass, using light to dodge the honest dark. You feel grief coil in your ribs, a contraction asking for breath. But the persona labeled awakened denies it. I won't lower my vibration. The contraction is not the enemy. It's the messenger, an unintegrated pocket of the past asking to rejoin the choir. Refusing it interrupts DNA restructuring because the system cannot stabilize around an exile. Consequence: the smile grows brittle, the voice rings tinny, and your field broadcasts, I'm pretending. The remedy is reverent inclusion. Breathe the ache as if it were a child at your doorstep. Whisper, you can belong here, without steering. Coherence grows when nothing in you has to hide. The sixth trap is timeline addiction, making time your deity and urgency your liturgy. You set a manifestation date like a court summons, then whip your nervous system each morning it hasn't arrived. Urgency is a frequency of lack wrapped in calendar ink. It frays entanglement because it says, not yet, louder than already becoming. Consequence: the body fatigues, attention splinters, and the field keeps mirroring, almost, because that's what you keep teaching it to recognize. The remedy: anchor to rhythm, not deadline. Daily cadence beats countdown, small actions that agree with your chosen signal, repeated until inevitability replaces hurry. The seventh trap is identity inertia, trying to create a new reality from the posture of the old character. You speak new lines but stand like yesterday. You ask for bold futures while your gaze still scans for threat. The field listens to the actor more than the script. Consequence: opportunities that fit the new story arrive, but the old stance declines them by reflex. The remedy is role embodiment. Study the geometry of the version of you who already lives there, how they breathe, how they say no, what they ignore. Practice that geometry now, not later. Entanglement connects you to the self that remembers. Posture is the chord. Let these scenarios wear faces so you recognize them. You at midnight, vision board glowing, jaw tight, saying, I trust, while refreshing your inbox micromanagement in a glitter dress. You, at brunch, explaining with glossy eyes why your anger is low vibe, while your shoulders whisper emergency bypass with pearls. You, on the couch, seeing 11:11 and calling it fate while your gut murmurs, slow down, omen replacing intuition. You, after 3 days of coherent breath, getting a tense email and sprinting back to frenzy misread turbulence. You, repeating abundance while your spine collapses like a closing gate, identity inertia. You, counting days until Friday, as if Friday were a savior timeline addiction. None of this makes you wrong. It makes you human mid-awakening. The quantum field isn't grading you, it's responding with exquisite fidelity. When you miss-aim, it shows you the miss with impeccable mirrors so you can re-aim. That's mercy disguised as feedback. The traps are not punishments, they're invitations to precision, how to move cleanly. Make a pact with your breath to be the first truth teller in the room. If your exhale is short and choppy, while your mouth says, I'm fine, believe the breath, not the mouth. If your chest opens like sunrise when you consider a choice, believe the opening, not the doubt's autobiography. Keep a simple hierarchy. State before story, body before plan, coherence before speed. When in conflict between a sign on a screen and a sign in your sternum, choose the one that can hug you back. And when you slip, because patterns are sticky, return without ceremony. Returning is the quiet superpower that stabilizes morphic resonance. Each return strengthens the groove of, I come back to center, and the field learns to meet you there faster. Over weeks, the returns turn into residence. Over months, residence becomes inheritance. Your cells adopt the new baseline, and your choices start making themselves from that place. This is DNA restructuring as lived experience. The poem changes, the music deepens, the house hums a new note. You are not here to be flawless. You are here to be fluent. Fluency is the ease with which you notice misalignment and slip back into song. As you practice, the traps stop looking like cliffs and start looking like pebbles you step around barefoot, unhurried. The observer loop remains intact. The quantum field keeps taking dictation from your coherence, and reality, loyal as ever, continues to arrange itself into the shape of your brave attention. Imagine waking inside a night-bright city built entirely of listening glass. Towers hum with faint overtones. Streets ripple like water when footsteps approach. And every window is a mirror that doesn't reflect you back so much as refer you to the version of you that your gaze is willing to sponsor. This is not a place you walk through. It's a place that walks around you. The city is the quantum field. You are the cartographer whose eyes draw the map as you move. At first you wander. Street lamps bloom and dim with your breath. When anxiety tightens your inhale, alleys narrow, doors lock, and signs tilt toward dead ends. When your exhale lengthens, boulevard trees lean in, their leaves shivering with little bells of invitation. You realize the asphalt listens to your soles. Cobblestones remember your posture. Coherence is not an abstract here, it's urban planning. The city arranges itself to match the music your nervous system plays. At the heart of the city stands a tower called the Observatory, but its dome faces inward. Inside, a single instrument, a ring of crystal, spins slowly in air. This is the observer loop. Each time your attention rests on something possibility, fear, gratitude, the ring notes the pitch, amplifies it, and the whole skyline tilts to comply. You notice synchronicity as traffic lights turning green in sequence when your chest softens, detours appearing when you whisper doubt into the air like smoke. The city is neutral. It is also faithful. There is a district the locals call Morphic Square. Buildings here share architecture. Change one facade, relax a shoulder, unclench a jaw, and neighboring row houses alter their cornices in sympathy. That's morphic resonance. Patterns, tutoring patterns, blueprints updating through proximity. Your apartment learns from the way you leave in the morning. Your workplace learns from the way you arrive. You stop trying to fix each building and start tuning the plaza's song. The city rewards the conductor, not the micromanager. One night, you follow a soft, braided light down into the transit tunnels and discover the weaving room. Looms stretch to the horizon, threaded with filaments of sound and breath. Here, the tracks you'll walk tomorrow are woven by what you rehearsed today. You take your seat, a shuttle of attention in your right hand, a shuttle of emotion in your left. The warp is intention, the weft is embodiment. You move them in rhythm, inhale, exhale, gaze, soften until cloth appears that wasn't here a minute ago. A new street, a gentler conversation, a door you thought was decorative swinging open. As you weave, a subtle choir stirs inside your bones. DNA restructuring is not thunder. It is 1,000 tiny yeses in your cells aligning their vowels. Old stitches pop beliefs that kept alleys narrow, and the fabric mends into broader avenues. You hear the click of a phase transition like frost deciding to become water. Nothing dramatic, yet everything altered. The shuttle picks up speed. Threads of entanglement glow gold filaments connecting your loom to other rooms, other weavers. When you choose a compassionate thread, the light travels, and somewhere a stranger's window warms. You feel their window warming before you know why. Still, there are nights when fog rolls in from the river and the city forgets its own names. Your breath shortens. The observatory ring wobbles. Streets rearrange into a maze of almosts. It would be easy to accuse the city of betrayal. Instead, you remember turbulence as the atmosphere of becoming. You sit on the curb, lay your palm on the stone, and find the rhythm beneath the static 4 counts in, 6 counts out, until the fog learns your cadence and begins to thin. Street by street, coherence returns like dawn light, pooling at intersections. You start to play, not recklessly reverently. You walk into a busy market and hold one frequency, quiet generosity, and watch as stalls shift closer, prices soften, conversations relax. You cross a bridge with the simple mantra, "I am the still axis," and traffic takes care of you, tiny courtesies multiplying into a choreography no one could have scripted. Entanglement writes in shorthand. You answer with posture, and the city signs back with timing. This is not superstition, it's literacy. There is a garden on the city's eastern edge called the Threshold. There, an ancient gate stands between ivy walls. The plaque reads, "Breath before entry," not as rule as physics. On one side of the gate is the familiar, rooms arranged by old agreements, clocks that hurry, mirrors that quote yesterday. On the other side is a neighborhood that only appears when your field is coherent. The bricks there are the same. The air is different. Even the shadows feel kind. You don't force the gate. You become the key. 3 true breaths, a softened gaze, a chosen thought that your body believes, and the iron unlatches without a sound. Past the threshold, you meet versions of yourself carrying groceries, returning library books, laughing on stoops. You recognize their geometry, spines vertical like prayer, shoulders unarmored, eyes bright but unhungry. They nod as if you've always lived there. In a way, you have. Superposition kept this neighborhood folded like an origami swan in your pocket until your hands were gentle enough to open it. You're not overwhelmed. You are recognized. Eventually, you climb the observatory again. The ring of crystal steadies as you approach. It remembers your touch. You bring your breath to meet it, and the city quiets the way a concert hall hushes before the downbeat. You realize the greatest miracle of this place. The field does not ask you to be flawless. It asks you to be true. True like a tuned string, not like a perfect statue. True like water, finding its level. True like a promise you keep because it keeps you. When you leave the tower, you do not try to make streets behave. You walk as if the city is a beloved that takes your arm when you let it. You know now, every window is a letterbox, and your attention is the letter. You post calm, and calm is delivered. You post courage, and staircases appear where there were only blank walls. The city doesn't love you back or refuse you. It listens you back. That is its genius. So you live here differently. You weave mornings before you spend them. You treat fog as apprenticeship. You take the long way home because the long way sings. And when a siren wails in the distance, the old world rattling, you pause under a listening lamp and breathe a blessing through your ribs, trusting the gold filaments to carry it where your feet cannot. Somewhere, a stranger's window warms again. Somewhere, a door unlatches for both of you. And in that shared turning breath, answering breath, loom answering loom, you feel the city of glass become a city of light. Not because it changed, but because you did. Let's walk this into daylight. It's Tuesday, 9:17 a.m. You're outside a glass-walled conference room, where a conversation you've delayed for months is about to happen. Scope, boundaries, compensation, respect. The fluorescent hum is a little too bright. Your phone vibrates once and you feel the old script climb your spine. Speed up. Apologize first. Over-explain later. Jaw tightens. Breath goes shallow. The city of glass, you know it now, begins to narrow its alleys. Step 0. The gap. You don't go in yet. You plant your feet hip-width. Let your hands rest on the cool metal of the door handle and take one full cycle of breath. On the exhale's end, you linger just that 0.3-second quantum gap and listen. In the still point, the mental flood hesitates. A sliver of you is already on the riverbank, watching the water instead of drowning in it. That's the observer loop re-engaging. Small, but decisive. Stage 1C. You inventory without judgment. Jaw at a 6/10, belly at a 3/10, shoulders at a 7/10, thoughts sprinting, story saying, you must convince. Naming metabolizes noise. You see the survival code without letting it drive. In the seeing, your identity steps one notch back from the impulse. Superposition opens again. More than one you is available. Stage 2 soften. 4 counts in through the nose. 6 counts out through slightly parted lips. On the second exhale, your shoulders drop 2 millimeters, but the system notices. You roll your eyes softly to peripheral vision, taking in more room, calms the limbic alarm, tongue off the roof of your mouth. Belly unfists. This is not thinking positive. This is coherent physiology. The heart field steadies. The ring in the observatory steadies with it. The city of glass hears the new tempo. Stage 3. Synchronize. You choose a frequency. Clear warmth. Not saccharine, not sharp. Clear means boundaries. Warmth means dignity for you and for them. You let that pairing soak into 3 places. Behind the breastbone, heat, low belly, weight, back of the neck, length. You give it a posture. Sternum lifted like a small sunrise, ribs free, chin easy, feet feeling the ground's patience. Thought, feeling, breath, geometry one song. Coherence accumulates like morning light. You can feel the phase transition beginning quiet, invisible, real. Stage 4. Signal. You open the door and step inside. The field travels with you, the way a scent does. 2 colleagues are already seated. You notice micro-tells, a tapping pen, a tight smile, arms crossed. Old you would mirror the tension. This you becomes the still axis. You place your notebook squarely, align it with the table's edge, tiny act of order, and rest your forearms, palms down, grounded, non-defensive. You breathe once, audibly but soft, which invites the room's breath to match without anyone deciding to. Watch the entanglement. The tapping slows, the crossed arms uncross. Someone jokes about the coffee. It's not magic, it's morphic resonance in a conference room dialect. Your coherence gives the room permission to remember its own. When you speak, your voice rides the breath you've trained. Thanks for making time. My intention is to find a structure that lets the work stay excellent without burning people out, me included. Clear warmth. The words are simple, the field underneath them is rich. You don't overfill the space. Silence is now an ally, not a threat. In the pause, probabilities shift. You can feel it like iron filings arranging along an invisible line. Obstacle appears, as it will. We don't have budget for changes this quarter, someone says, and the old script reaches for the mic. You repeat the protocol in miniature. See, jaw, soften, longer exhale. Synchronize, clear warmth. Signal, speak from the chest, not the throat. Understood on budget. What I'm proposing is a pilot that changes how we spend time, not how much we spend. 2 weeks, then we measure. The room blinks. A new road surfaces on the map because your request came wrapped in coherence, not pressure. Synchronicity does the quiet, heavy lifting. The director, who was supposed to miss this meeting, slips in late. Turns out she's been sketching a similar restructure on her own. Your words click into her sketch like 2 halves of a magnet. She asks for specifics. You've prepared, but you don't flood. 3 bullet points, 1 page. Your body keeps broadcasting. No panic, no push. The field reads the signal. The city shifts its streetlights to green. Watch the micro-evidence. Your colleague who usually competes begins contributing solutions instead of objections. Someone offers to run the metrics. The director suggests a follow-up in 8 days, not 30. Outside the windows, traffic flows like choreography. Inside, personalities soften into roles, and roles soften into shared purpose. Entanglement is a social phenomenon too. The web is adjusting around the node you've become. Notice your biology. The heat behind your sternum is steady, not flaring. The jaw is at a 2/10. Thoughts are crisp, not frantic. This is DNA restructuring at human scale. Epigenetic notes rewriting their margins from defend to design. You didn't argue your nervous system into safety. You breathed it into coherence until safety became the natural key of the room. A test arrives mid-meeting, a pointed question about past delays. The old identity apologize, over-explain reaches up like a reflex. You let it be seen and not obeyed. You're right, I dropped the handoff in June. I've tightened that system. Here's the fix. Clean. No drama. The field rewards honesty because honesty is a coherent waveform. The conversation moves forward without sticky residue. You've just transmuted what would have become 20 minutes of defensiveness into 20 seconds of clarity. By minute 32, the pilot is approved, guardrails set, check-in scheduled. It isn't everything you wanted, and it doesn't need to be. The city rarely redraws its map in one meeting. It updates the route in real time as you walk it. You stand, shake hands, thank the room, and feel the odd, familiar sensation that you didn't force anything, you conducted it. On the elevator down, your phone buzzes again. A message from a client who'd gone quiet. Timing's good. Can we restart next week? This is the echo of morphic resonance. When one room reorganizes around coherence, adjacent rooms find it easier to do the same. Later that afternoon, a designer you admire messages you unprompted. Saw your note last month, still want to collaborate? The day is not showering you with magic. It's reflecting the geometry you've been rehearsing. Make the chain visible so your mind learns to trust it. Pre-room, panic pattern detected. Gap entered breath, lengthened posture, tuned frequency chosen. In-room, still axis held, words matched physiology, silence allowed, boundaries offered without edge. Field, others entrained resistance, softened, mutual pattern formed, decision emerged. After room, entangled timelines surfaced, dormant threads rekindled, momentum compounded. And the traps? You sidestepped them. No performative positivity, your body told the truth, and then you changed the truth with breath. No micromanagement, you set direction and let the field audition paths. No misreading turbulence, you treated the hard question as an instrument check, not a verdict. No omen idolatry, signals came, but you kept authority inside your ribs. No bypass, you included the flicker of shame about June without letting it steer. No timeline addiction, you chose rhythm over rush. No identity inertia, you played the role of the you who remembers. And the room believed you because you believed you first. This is one meeting, on one Tuesday, in an ordinary building with a slightly too bright hum. And it is also a living demonstration of phase transition in public. Mist condensing into form around a coherent signal. You didn't win the universe's favor. You tuned your instrument until the universe could hear the song. The city of glass rearranged, as it always does, around the one who walks, as a tuning fork. Carry this forward. The method scales. Kitchen table, hospital hallway, first date, final deadline, same protocol, different costumes. See, soften, synchronize, signal. Repeat until the repetition becomes residence, and residence becomes inheritance. Next, we'll name the laws you just practiced, so your hands know their own music, even when the room is loud. Here are the handholds, the compact truths you've been practicing without names. Think of them as tuning keys you keep in your pocket. When the room is loud, you don't argue with the noise. You tune the instrument and let the song reorganize the scene. 7 laws. Each is simple. Each is a door. 1. The law of state precedence. Your state outranks your strategy. The quantum field responds to the quality of information you emit, coherence or static, before it responds to plans, pitches, or promises. A brilliant idea delivered through a braced jaw reads as threat. A modest proposal carried by clear warmth reads as invitation. State is the carrier wave. Strategy rides on it. In the observer loop, your state is the first measurement, the first collapse of superposition. Choose it first and often. When you do, synchronicity doesn't need to bulldoze obstacles. It simply routes around them because your signal is unconfused. 2. The law of coherent encoding. Reality organizes around clean packets of information. A clean packet is fourfold: thought, clarity, emotion, congruence, breath, rhythm, and geometry, posture. When these align, your system broadcasts a single frequency, no crosstalk, no leakage. That frequency is what the field matches. If the thought is courage but the body says retreat, the broadcast fractures and the return is mixed. When you marry the sentence in your mind to the music in your chest and the architecture of your stance, you encode one instruction. Coherence is not perfection, it's agreement. Agreement is magnetic. 3. The law of the gap. The 3-second pause at the end of an exhale is a door through which futures choose you back. In that micro-silence, the reactor loses jurisdiction, and the witness can vote. Entering the gap resets the observer loop, interrupts reflex, and lets a different timeline step forward. You cannot brute force the gap, you notice it. Breath is the metronome, presence is the key. The more often you touch that still hinge between breaths, the more the hinge feels like home. Decisions taken from the gap carry a signature the field recognizes as stable center, and the world coordinates accordingly. 4. The law of morphic reciprocity. Patterns teach patterns. When you stabilize a new rhythm in yourself, nearby systems, people, rooms, projects find it easier to adopt the same rhythm. This is morphic resonance as lived experience. Your coherence lowers the energy cost of coherence for others. You do not convert them. You offer them a template. The city of glass doesn't change because you lecture it. It softens because you hum a truer note long enough for the bricks to remember. This is why your private practice is public service in disguise. Your field becomes a quietly generous climate. 5. The law of entangled assistance. You are never broadcasting into a vacuum. Threads run from your chest to conversations not yet scheduled, to allies not yet met, to outcomes not yet visible. When your state is coherent and your direction sincere, help arrives from angles you couldn't have storyboarded. Emails surface, doors unlatch, missing pieces volunteer themselves. Entanglement isn't a superstition. It's the deep grammar of a connected universe. Act as if your future collaborators can feel you preparing, and they will. Act as if the path can feel you walking and it reshapes under your feet. 6. The law of honest inclusion. What you refuse to feel cannot harmonize. It distorts the choir from the shadows. Inclusion is not indulgence. It's integration. When contraction knocks, grief in the ribs, heat in the throat, you breathe it into the room without handing it the microphone. Felt fully, it resolves. Exiled, it returns as sabotage. DNA restructuring requires whole system honesty. Your biology writes different notes when nothing in you is banished. The field reads honesty as coherence, not as low vibe. Light is not the absence of dark. It's the capacity to include it without losing pitch. 7. The law of threshold turbulence. Agitation often precedes repatterning. When a phase transition is imminent, the old lattice shakes. Emails get weird, tempers flare, clocks slip. This is not failure, it's physics. Water does not apologize when it boils. It changes state. If you mislabel turbulence as doom, you abort the crossing and call it proof the practice doesn't work. Name it correctly, threshold weather, and stay. One more coherent breath, one more hour of clear warmth held in your bones, and the structure clicks. After the click, effort requirements collapse. What was uphill becomes level ground. Let these 7 sit together, and you'll hear their harmony. State precedence chooses the key. Coherent encoding tunes the instrument. The gap sets the tempo. Morphic reciprocity amplifies the song through the room. Entangled assistance brings in the orchestra you didn't know you had. Honest inclusion keeps the whole choir singing. Threshold turbulence reminds you the crescendo feels messy right before it lands. Notice what's absent. Force. Notice what's central. Fidelity to breath, to body, to chosen frequency. These laws are not commandments from outside. They're descriptions of how your system already works when you stop arguing with it. They do not promise that life will never throw curves. They promise you'll stop throwing them at yourself. Hold a scene from your day against them: breakfast negotiations with a child, a late-night text you're tempted to send, a creative draft stalling on paragraph 3. If you lead with state, align the packet, touch the gap, and refuse to exile whatever you feel, the scene bends, not theatrically, but measurably. Tone shifts, options multiply, timing cooperates. The field isn't sentimental, it's exquisitely consistent. Feed it coherence, and it returns structure. Feed it static, and it returns noise. There is one more layer to underline. Identity follows repetition. Apply these laws in small cycles and your cells begin to assume the new normal. That assumption is inheritance. What you once practiced becomes what you are. Call this awakening if you like, or simply call it good engineering. You are building a self that reality can trust. Keep the keys on you. When the air gets thin, reduce everything to the first 3 laws and breathe. State, packet, gap. When the world gets loud, remember the last 4. Your pattern teaches. Unseen allies listen. Inclusion stabilizes. Turbulence heralds crossing. You don't need to believe them fiercely. You need to use them gently, repeatedly, until their music plays you. Next, we'll translate these laws into practice. You can begin today simple, precise sequences that let your body memorize what your mind now understands. You don't need a retreat, a mountain, or a perfect morning. You need a sequence you can run in an elevator, at a red light, in the doorway before a conversation. You already know the laws. Now let your body memorize them. 5 practices, precise, repeatable, designed to entrain coherence, and let the field do its quiet mathematics. 1. The 90-second key. State precedence plus the gap. Use this anytime you cross a threshold, opening a browser, a door, a calendar invite. Feet, hip width, knees unlocked. Eyes, soften to peripheral vision, see more room than problem. Jaw divided by tongue. Unclench. Tongue rests gently on the floor of your mouth. Breath, in for 4, out for 6 through parted lips. Repeat 6, 8 cycles. Gap. At the end of each exhale, feel the 3-second still hinge. Don't force. Notice. Name the state. 1 hyphenated phrase you can inhabit: clear, warmth, quiet, resolve, playful, focus. Let it spread behind the breastbone, low belly, back of neck. Why it works. You choose state before strategy, turning the observer loop back on. The longer exhale trims sympathetic noise. Peripheral vision tells the limbic system, no immediate threat. The gap gives the witness the vote. You just collapsed a frazzled superposition into a steadier timeline. 2. The 3-minute packet, coherent encoding ritual. Do this at the start of your work block, or before a meaningful action. Sentence 30 sec. Write 1 present, tense line that your body believes. I move this project forward with clear warmth. Not grand, not future now. Emotion. 45 sec. Recall a memory that proves the sentence, a time you moved something forward kindly. Let the felt quality bloom: texture, temperature, color, geometry. 45 sec. Arrange the body to match. Sternum gently lifted, shoulders unarmored, chin easy, pelvis stacked. Breath. 60 sec. 5/5 coherent breathing while you reread the sentence, silently on each inhale, and feel the memory on each exhale. Why it works. Thought, emotion, posture, breath snap into one clean packet. The field can mirror it without static. This is you engraving a legible instruction into the quantum field instead of mumbling mixed signals. 3. Micro gaps everywhere. Tempo as a lifestyle. Suture your day with stillness, so the music doesn't fray. Between clicks. 3 breaths before. Send. At handles. 1 breath before entering rooms. In conflict. Name in your head what's true by sensation. Heat in throat. Jaw at 6/10. Then take a single slow exhale before words. Rule. Never let your fingers move faster than your breath. Run the 3x3. 3 conscious breaths, 3 times a day. Morning doorway, midday inbox, evening threshold. Put small stickers or a dot on your watch to cue it. Why it works. The gap keeps resetting the observer loop, preventing old code from hijacking decisions. The day stops being a blur of unconscious collapses and becomes a string of deliberate measurements, phase transitions in miniature. 4. Threshold weather protocol. For turbulence and moments. Use when emails spike, tempers rise, plans wobble when the old lattice shakes. Label, 10 sec. Threshold weather. This frames agitation as physics, not failure. Axis. 60 sec. Sit divided by stand tall as if a thread lifts you from the crown. 4/6. Breathing. Hands open on thighs or table. Trim the sentence. 30 sec. Name the clean ask or clean boundary in 12 words or fewer. If it won't fit in one exhale, you're adding theater. Speak like the mountain. 5 minutes. Low and slow. 1 point per breath. Allow silence to do half the work. If attacked, mirror content, not tone, then return to the ask. You're right, we missed June. Here's the fix. Here's my ask. Exit clean. 10 sec. 1 breath before the final line. Thank you for hearing me. Then stop. Let the field finish the sentence. Why it works. You're honoring the law of threshold turbulence, staying coherent while the old grid deconstructs. Silence and slowness broadcast stability. Morphic resonance lets the room borrow your nervous system's tempo. Entanglement pulls in help you didn't plan for. 5. The resonance loop. Morphic reciprocity, plus entangled assistance, plus honest inclusion. Daily, weave 3 threads. Morning, midday, evening. 7 minutes total. Thread a inner inclusion. 2 minutes. Sit with whatever part tightens today. Throat, solar plexus, jaw. Place a palm there. Breathe 4/6 for 10 cycles while whispering, "You belong, and I choose the steering." Let sensation move 1% more than before. Thread be quiet offering. 3 minutes. Create one no. Credit coherence ripple. Send a concise blessing text. Tip extra. Tidy a shared space. Share a resource with 0 commentary. Do it in the frequency you're cultivating. Clear warmth, playful focus. Thread C, practical footstep. 2 minutes. 1 materially visible action aligned with your sentence. The call, the calendar block, the paragraph, the invoice. Small is holy. Finish it fully. Why it works. Inclusion stabilizes your choir. Nothing in you has to sabotage from exile. Quiet offerings seed morphic resonance. The field remembers generosity and roots kindness back along entangled lines. The footstep saves you from mystical procrastination. The quantum field loves a body that votes. Make it trackable so your mind trusts the magic. Green lights log. Each night, write 3 moments when reality seemed to lean toward you. Timely email, open parking spot, softened conversation. Label each with the law that likely assisted. State, packet, gap, morphic, entangled, inclusion, threshold. You'll train your pattern recognition to see the choreography it's been missing. Coherence score. 1/10. Not moral, practical. How coherent was I today? Jot 1 line about what lifted it, and 1 about what leaked it. Adjust tomorrow's ritual accordingly. Identity geometry. 2 photos, weekly pre-ritual posture, post-ritual posture, side profile. Watch the chest, jaw, and eyes. When geometry changes, outcomes follow. Embedded in places that matter. Money. Before sending a proposal, run the 90-second key and the 3-minute packet with the sentence, "I price in a way that honors the work and the humans." Then send. Watch negotiations devolve from wrestling to choreography. Love. Before a hard talk, declare tender truth as your hyphenated state. Micro gaps while listening. Mirror content, not tone. End with a body. Felt appreciation you can prove. Health. During cravings or avoidance, do the threshold weather protocol. Ask, "What is this trying to do for me?" Offer the body a truer route to the same need. Rest, sweetness, regulation. Then take a footstep. Water, walk, or warm shower. Common snags in the fix. I did the ritual, and nothing happened. Something always happens. You may be looking for fireworks while the field is laying wiring. Check your packet. Did your body believe the sentence? If not, reduce the scope until it does. I forgot all day. Put coherence where your hands already go. Wallpaper the phone lock screen with state packet gap. Place a dot sticker on your laptop near enter. Tie the practice to doors, mugs, and send buttons. I got overwhelmed. Cut the ritual to 1 breath and 1 sentence. 1 coherent breath is a full instruction to the field. You are not trying to win the universe's favor. You are making yourself legible to it. Run these sequences until repetition turns into residence. Residence becomes inheritance. That's awakening translated into muscle memory, the observer loop alive in your ribs, the quantum field nodding in recognition as synchronicity finds your address again and again. Look at what you've already done. You've stepped out of the rushing river and onto the bank. You felt the ring in the observatory steady under your palm. You watched one Tuesday morning bend toward coherence because you breathed like a conductor instead of a defendant. This is not potential anymore. It's precedent. And precedent is power. Stay here. Feel your weight in the chair or on your feet. If you've already stood up, let the soles of your feet admit their secret. The ground is on your side. The quantum field is not a courtroom. It's a studio. And you're no longer the intern cleaning brushes. You are the artist who chooses the palette. That choice is not a slogan. It is a broadcast. Every inhale inks a stroke. Every exhale sets the varnish. Coherence is the easel that keeps the canvas steady when the room is loud. You've learned the laws because you lived them. State before strategy. Packet before plan. Gap before reply. Morphic reciprocity turning rooms into tuning forks. Entangled assistance carrying your quiet signal across invisible bridges. Honest inclusion, untying the knots you used to hide from yourself. Threshold turbulence rebranded as weather not doom. Weather before the click of a phase transition. These aren't charms, they're physics with a heartbeat. And the heartbeating is yours. Let the declarations arrive not as hollow hype, but as geometry your body can keep. I am the still axis in rooms that forgot their center. I am the chosen frequency, inside a field that mirrors without bias. I am a clear packet in a world allergic to mixed signals. I am morphic generosity, my coherence lowers the cost for everyone nearby. I am entangled help in human form. I am the text that arrives when someone breathes yes. I am inclusion. Nothing in me needs exile to belong. I am weatherwise. I stay when the boil births the vapor. Say them under your breath if you want, or keep them silent and let your posture say it louder. Now, expand the scene. Imagine the city of listening glass at dawn. You walk its streets and the lamps learn your tempo. Children feel safer when you enter the room and nobody knows why their nervous systems do. Team meetings turn from tug of war to architecture because your presence stops arguing and starts drawing. A parent in the grocery line exhales because you did first. A nurse steadies their hands because you stood still in the corridor. This is not grandiosity, it's morphic math. The web responds to the node. You tend the node. The web upgrades. Your DNA hears this too. Not as myth, as management. It trades the old emergency notes for repair songs because you keep giving it the tempo it trusts. Longer exhales, honest inclusion, clear warmth under the ribs. You do not bully your biology into holiness. You give it a stable altar, and it preys on its own. Watch how your appetite for chaos thins. Watch how your appetite for precision fattens. Watch how decisions that used to require a jury now land with a soft thud of knowing. Yes, here, no there, later for that. And those futures you called someday? They are not at the end of a staircase anymore. They are here, clustered in superposition, listening for which one you will feed. You don't have to sprint. You stand in the gap, breathe the deciding breath, and feed the branch that already loves you back. That's the new discipline, not strained fidelity. Fidelity to the signal you've chosen, even when the old code shouts promotions for panic. Let your imagination deepen into practicality. See your calendar 1 month from now. Color blocks where you used to scatter. Doors labeled no that used to trap you because they were unlabeled. Maybe. Room in the margins for wandering without guilt, because wandering is where synchronicity likes to find you. Notice your money conversations unspooling without apology. You price in a way that honors the work and the humans. The room respects math phrased as kindness. Notice love becoming honest without theatrics, tears when they are true, laughter when it bubbles without permission, quiet when quiet is the truest sentence. Notice sleep that doesn't fight you because your days stopped fighting themselves. This is empowerment with sleeves rolled. A quiet, repeatable authority rooted in the only jurisdiction you ever really had, your broadcast. When you own the broadcast, the field stops confusing your requests. That's why opportunities are starting to arrive looking suspiciously like alignment. They are alignment. You used to chase them. Now they recognize you in a crowd. If your mind asks for proof, give it a ledger. Today, 3 microgaps you kept, 2 rooms that softened, 1 choice that matched your chest. This week, 1 conversation that used mountain voice. one boundary that landed without bite, one unexpected assist that needed no begging. This month, a pattern you used to call just how I am, dissolving like salt in warm water. The residue, clarity, and an appetite for precise kindness that startles you with how good it feels to be exact. And if the weather turns, if a siren wails, a plan stutters, a voice shakes, you already know what to do. Name it. Threshold weather. Take the hinge breath. Stand like a tuning fork. Offer the clean sentence that fits inside one exhale. Hand silence the other half of the work. Let entanglement recruit allies in places your calendar can't reach. If tears come, include them. The city respects honest rain. The field returns structure to those who do not lie to themselves in the wind. Remember, you are not bargaining with a moody universe. You are partnering with a precise one. The universe does not favor you when coherent. It can find you. You become locatable to your own destiny. That's what synchronicity truly is, your timeline recognizing your face across a crowded room. So lift your sternum a centimeter. Let your eyes widen to include the edges. Let one breath be more beautiful than any sentence you could speak. Feel the ring in the observatory hum in perfect sympathy with your ribs. Feel the looms in the weaving room pick up speed as your shuttles move attention and emotion crossing until cloth appears where there was air. Cloth you can walk on. Cloth you can give away. Cloth that can carry others when they are tired and cannot yet remember their own tempo. You are not waiting for permission. You are permission. Permission for rooms to remember their center, for families to negotiate with dignity, for work to become craftsmanship, for love to prefer truth over performance, for your body to stop bracing and start listening. Let's seal it not with noise, with resonance. Hand on chest, hand on belly. Inhale to 4, exhale to 6. Whisper inside, I am the chosen frequency. I keep the pact. Again, I am the chosen frequency. I keep the pact. One more time, softer than thought. I am the chosen frequency. I keep the pact. Good. Keep it for the next doorway you cross, and the one after that, until keeping it feels like coming home. In a breath, we'll close this chapter together, no grand sermon, just a cinematic vow and a living invitation to keep walking this precise, luminous road. We've come to the threshold where philosophy becomes practice, where your breath stops being background and becomes the baton. You felt it. The observer loop humming in your ribs, coherence gathering like dawn, synchronicity stepping closer when you chose a clean signal. You learn to read threshold turbulence as weather, to fold grief into honest inclusion, to let morphic resonance carry your calm beyond the borders of your skin. You watched entanglement answer a steady posture with steady outcomes. You tasted DNA restructuring as newfound permission inside your own chest. Hold this clarity now, like a lantern. You don't have to force tomorrow. You have to broadcast today. One hinge breath, one coherent packet, one sentence your body believes. That's all the quantum field needs to locate you and organize around the you who remembers. When rooms get loud, you will be the still axis. When choices multiply, you will be the one who can feel which path already hums your name. Phase transition is no longer a myth. It's your new weather pattern. If this transmission resonated, seal it with action that the field can read. Subscribe to this channel so the rhythm returns to you regularly. Like this video to strengthen the signal in the web we share. Turn on notifications so the practices arrive exactly when threshold weather does. Then add your signature to the field in the comments with 6 words that match your frequency. Try. I keep the pact, clear warmth. Your words won't be noise, they'll be coordinates. Others will find them when their fog thins. Share this with one person who needs a still axis today. That simple offering is morphic generosity, quiet, precise, contagious. And if you want a daily anchor, return to the 90-second key each doorway you cross this week. Let the 3-minute packet precede any email that matters. Keep the green lights log, so your mind can witness how often reality now leans toward you. This is not hustle. This is hygiene, keeping the instrument tuned, so the song can keep reorganizing the room. Next, walk with me into the deeper method, the 4-stage observer breath, and the micro gaps that make coherence portable. It's waiting for you here. It's practice you can run in an elevator, at a red light, in the doorway before a yes or a no. You won't need certainty to begin. You'll need one breath you're willing to make beautiful. Hand on chest, hand on belly. Inhale to 4, exhale to 6. Whisper inside, so the field can hear you. I am the chosen frequency. I keep the pact. Again and again. Feel the ring in the observatory steady under your palm as the city of your life adjusts its lights. We'll keep weaving this together, breath by breath, room by room, until stillness becomes your residence and coherence your inheritance. Subscribe, stay close, and step through the next gate with me. Now remember the vow inside the title and carry it like fire. Don't skip this breath, because the observer effect is secretly rewriting your entire quantum field right now.